This is Wildcat Country.
It's an Arizona story. Tommy Lloyd and the Arizona Wildcats are headed to the Final Four.
The inside scoop on the Arizona Wildcats.
Inside the 10. Stooks may have it. Oh, my goodness.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to bear down.
Welcome to another edition of Wildcat Country presented by Harrah's Auction Casino. Eric Cohen, Shane Dale, and a special guest for the first time on this program in almost 8 months. Blair Willis joins us here on Wildcat Country. Shane, normally I start with you, but I gotta start with Blair here. Blair, welcome back. It's almost football season. That's how we know it's time to chat with you and get our season picks episode. How excited are you for the 2026 version of the Arizona Wildcats?
Yeah, well, Eric, thanks for having me. It's crazy when you say 8 months because so much has happened. I mean, the basketball run to the Final Four, and then busy summer. College sports keeps changing. We've got court lawsuits, by the day still going on with college football, NFL players coming back. I'm just ready for games. And so
dogs and cats living together. Sorry, I had to throw that in.
No, I mean, we got games this week, and the Cats kick off next week. So it's a great time. And for the Arizona Wildcats in 2026, I'm really excited about this group. I've had an opportunity to go out to a couple practices, and man, there's just a great chemistry out there. They're a fun team to watch. It's going to be a fun season. I hope Wildcat fans are really excited, like we all are. You guys have a great, podcast and a great show and have great guests. And, I hope everybody that follows you is excited about this team. And I see this year, we should have a lot of fun watching this team because I think they can be pretty good. I don't know how great they'll be, but I think they'll be pretty good. And someone like Noah Fafita leading the way, and some of his teammates like Tay Brown and Trey Smith, and really, there's just you go up and down the roster, a couple dozen of these guys. They deserve big crowds and great support this year, Eric. So I'm sorry for hijacking your open here, but man, I'm just excited for the year, and I hope a lot of people around Tucson and the state of Arizona are excited too.
Well, let me follow up on that, Blair, because we've got the 100th Territorial Cup game coming up in November. I don't mean to skip ahead to the end of the season already, but you're 100 games. What does that mean to you? Because it's being the SID for so many of them.
Well, that's a kind of a big question, Shane. I don't know if I was quite ready for that yet. Like you said, it's in November, but no, I mean, it's a great, when I think about it too, I think you guys might have had Danny Gonzalez on, defensive coordinator, and you might have asked him about someone's idea of starting the year against ASU. And
that was Kenny Dillingham's idea, apparently. Yeah, as the home and home every year. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be something. But no, I mean, it's just an incredible rivalry. I know maybe you guys had Phil Steele a week or two ago. I think you asked him about the rivalry and where it stacks up nationally. Yeah, it's probably not a top 5. It might be borderline top 10, national rivalry. But I think for the people in this state, it just means so much. And when you go back, 100 meetings, over all the years of that, there's such pride. And so the Wildcats have been pretty fortunate. I think we've won 3 out of the last 4, I believe, after ASU had control of it for a while. So kind of a pivotal year in the series. And whichever side comes out on top this year with that Territorial Cup kind of has not just bragging rights for the next year, but kind of a feather in the cap for the history of the rivalry to say that you won the 100th Territorial Cup.
That's the thing, because ASU is, if ASU can say they won the first, because they did, the first and the 100th, that's something we're going to have to hear. But that's going to be right up there with 70-7 and things we hear about.
Well, and not only that, though, Shane, and Blair, it's Noah Fafita's last home game. And so that's a game that you don't want to hear, you're greatest player of all time. We beat him in his last home. You don't really want to hear that. And that would mean that Noah Fafita, as a starting quarterback, would not have won a home game against Arizona State. So that's something that you might want to, keep an eye on. Anyways, this is our predictions. Shane, you want to add anything?
No. I just said I'm sorry to skip ahead to the end of the season. I just was thinking as Blair, as Blair was talking. I did go back and rewatch the end of the 2014 game, Arizona and ASU, and I saw Jenny Taft interviewing Rich Rod on the field, and I remember saying, that's Blair Willis standing right behind Coach Rodriguez. So that just popped into my head, so I had to put it out there.
All right, so now we're going to do our annual predictions episode. I think this is the 3rd straight year that we have done this. Always glad to have you, Blair. And we're gonna do a few Arizona things and a few national things, and then pick 3 games this weekend because that's what we do. Okay, let's start with Arizona's projected record. Now, last week on the show, Shane, you and I broke down the Big 12. I said that Arizona would go 8-4. You did not give a record prediction. Why don't you tell us what you think the Wildcats will do this season?
You're talking to me?
Yep.
I'm gone back and forth on this. I've got them winning 7 games. I'm not sure. I've got them winning 5 in the Big 12. I'm not sure which ones. I've got them winning 2 out of 3 non-conference. That game, I'm telling you, that game at Washington State just makes me nervous. I know it's a game Arizona should win. I know that the Cougars have taken a step back and they've kind of been forgotten about in today's college football. I just got a bad feeling about that one. The good news is I was planning to be there and not going to be, so that you can't blame me for the curse. But I think 7 wins is about right. I mean, and even if they win all 3 in non-conference, 4 and 5 in the conference, considering their schedule is, even if they play well, is certainly possible. So I'm gonna put it at 7 wins, which is kind of funny because I have them ranked a spot higher than you, Eric, in our Big 12 predictions. But I think you have them going 3-0 in non-conference. I have them going 2-1, and that's the difference.
Fair enough. Blair, you are a bit more optimistic than both Shane and me. Do tell.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to probably pigeonhole this team, anywhere from 8 to 10 games that they can win, and so I think kind of taking the median there, going 9-3, is kind of where I feel this team will be. This is one of the first times, and I've been trying to think about it a little bit of when was the last time Arizona had the depth that it has really across the board. And it's a funny thing to talk about in the transfer portal era because no program has great depth anymore. But I think the combination of a little bit more depth than we had certainly 2 years ago, and certainly a little bit more than last year too, I think, but also the experience that this team has. I mean, we've sort of have 4 returning starters in a way on the offensive line. Plus you're bringing in a guy that started 4 games at the end of the year for Washington last year in the Big Ten Conference at center. So there's some real good experience there. Obviously, we know Noah Fafita at quarterback. The running back room has some experience with Kedrick Reesino and Quincy Craig, and obviously if Ishmael Mahdi is able to play, even the transfer from Marshall has a little bit of experience. Receivers, there's a lot of experience. The defensive line is probably, Danny Gonzalez has to be licking his chops with his defensive line, not necessarily like the NFL talent that he has there, although a guy like Trey Smith might find his way into a camp next year. But the numbers that we have at linebacker and along the defensive line, I think the defense is going to be so much fun to watch in terms of just how many players we play and how active we are and how we fly to the football. Certainly the question is going to be in the secondary, replacing the 5 NFL guys in the back end, Traden Stukes, Dalton Johnson, Genesis Smith, those real leaders of that back end. But I think there's numbers there this year to do it. And if the pass rush is better, if the ability to stop the run is better, it'll take some of that pressure off those secondary guys. So I just say that because I think we got some depth and experience that is a little bit unusual for a program like Arizona in this day and age of college football. And I think that's enough to win the games you're supposed to win, which I figure is probably around 8 or 9 games. And then if they're going to be good enough to beat a BYU on the road, a Texas Tech on the road, and avoid a slip-up somewhere like Shane said in Pullman, Washington, or maybe Morgantown, West Virginia, maybe teams that they're going to be favored against, but tough places to play on the road, I find them right around 9 games.
Let me just throw this out, Blair, because I think that I've mentioned this just about every week since you posted it on X. Arizona is one of, it's either 11 or 12 teams in all of FBS that returns its head coach, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, and quarterback from the last season. Is that right?
Yeah, it was right around 10 or 11. Yeah, the last number I saw.
Yeah. And I'll just throw this out too. I'm sorry, Eric. I don't mean to keep cutting you off, but I just, one thing that's been missing, and I just thought about this. One thing that's been missing during Arizona's 10-win season a couple of years back and then 9 wins last year is that Arizona finished those seasons very strong. But they were like a 500 team about halfway through the season both times. It's been a long time since we've been excited about like a conference championship chase. Arizona was not in contention last year because they just lost too many games early in the year. And the same thing a couple of years earlier and when they were in the Pac-12. So if they come out better than I expect, or maybe any of us expect, they come out and they win at BYU and Provo, and all of a sudden they're, ranked highly They're obviously undefeated in the conference early on, and they say they go into the rest of their conference games 4-0. That would be a new level of excitement that we haven't experienced in a long time because we haven't had that the even the thought in our head. It's like, okay, they're having a nice end to the season, but a conference championship isn't a possibility realistically. A CFP isn't a possibility. It would be amazing to have that excitement as a part of this run at some point, whether it happens this season or not.
Blair, let me ask you, Shane and I were discussing this last week. If I told you that Arizona was going to go 7-5, but a loss to ASU in the Territorial Cup, would you call that a disappointing season?
If Noah Fafita is healthy all year, I
Mhm.
would probably call it a disappointment. If something would happen to him and if you got devastated along the offensive line, obviously you kind of have to to have a little bit of margin for error there, knowing that you're probably not going to be quite as successful. But I think a healthy Noah, relatively healthy offensive line, 7 wins, beat ASU, you feel maybe okay, not great, but you feel okay. But if you win 7 games and lose that Territorial Cup at the end, that would sting a little bit.
100% agree. Now, Shane, what bowl game will Arizona be playing in your opinion, at 7-5?
I agree with you. I didn't mean to give away your pick already, but it's the Las Vegas Bowl. I think because it's been a while. I mean, I know that sometimes it's
18
not.
years.
Yeah, it's not just where you fall in the rankings, but okay, who's like which bowl game wants to have you after you've been gone for like the Holiday Bowl. It had been a long time, um, and so I think that made a lot of sense. The Las Vegas Bowl, I think it's 7 wins would probably make a lot of sense as well.
Blair, you are a bit more optimistic and aiming higher to a bowl that Arizona was in just a few years
Yeah,
ago.
I went ahead and when you posed this question to me earlier, I went ahead and filled in Alamo Bowl as my guess. I think Arizona goes 9-3, kind of is my prediction was for this exercise that we'll call it. That's probably going to fall right in line there. Maybe not great going back to back and well, not back to back, but 2 of the last 3 years. The one thing I did see a bowl projection. I can't remember from which outlet it was a day or two ago. Actually, had Arizona SMU rematch in the Alamo Bowl,
Mm.
so that was sticking there. I agree with you. Vegas would be great. The Sun Bowl has wanted Arizona forever, but we've either not been good enough for the Sun Bowl or we've been too good for it, depending on how the dominoes fall. And we're still in the last year of the old Pac-12 bowl agreements and bowl tie-ins, so it's really a convoluted mess between the teams that used to be in the Pac that are now in the Big Ten and in the Big 12. Plus the new Pac-12. So I don't even know necessarily, what all the scenarios are. There's going to be a lot of moving parts, probably all the way down till that final week in conference championship. Even no matter what the record is, if it's 8-4, 9-3, who knows what. So, hey, just win all your games, take care of business, and get that automatic playoff berth. That'd be my route to a great season for the Wildcats.
So later in the show, Blair, we're going to have a buddy of ours, Mike Kintner, who's the general manager of Harrah's Auction Casino, is going to join us on the show. And I'm going to ask him this question. So I want to ask you before we transition into the general college football landscape. If I were to say that Arizona which is more likely to you? Arizona makes the Big 12 championship game in football, or Arizona makes the national championship game in basketball this year? Which is more likely to you?
Oh, that's a really tough question. I might actually lean towards man, that's a tough question. That's a really kind of a 50-50, I feel like, in
Hmm.
terms of which scenario it is. Then, I mean, it's as we know for 25 years how hard it is to get to the Final Four. Fortunately, we just did it last April, and you want to think you can get back there. I think the team's going to be pretty good again for Tommy Lloyd. But man, I just think, for sort of what I talked about, I think with Noah Fafita, there's a lot of experience back on this team. There's a lot of leadership on both sides of the ball. That both coordinators, as Shane mentioned, are back. Our special teams coordinators back. If Max Harris plays on defense, the guy who wore the green dot on his helmet is kind of the communicator on the field, the quarterback of the defense. He would be back. I mean, I think the stars could actually align for the first time ever for Arizona football to maybe win the Big 12 championship and get into the CFP. I don't know. I think I would go with football just because of the odds of winning 5 games and getting to that national championship of basketball is super hard, but it's hard to win 10, 11 regular season games plus the Big 12 championship in football. So I don't know if you're getting great money either way on that one.
Shane, this is a football themed show. We saw Arizona. You and I recorded the day of the first loss in Lithuania, and they went on to look pretty darn good in their last two games.
Yep.
So I'm going to ask you the same question. Which way would you lean? Arizona makes the Big 12 championship game, or Arizona makes the national championship based on what you've seen with the basketball team?
Yeah, well, it would be hypocritical of me to come out and crown Arizona as a championship contender after two exhibition games.
Hmm.
After I told everyone, and we told everyone, I think, not to make a big deal out of one exhibition game that they lost. And I agree. I still stand by that. With that said, I mean, it's easy to see Ivan Karchenkov's star power. Caleb Holt's going to improve. Mo Krivas is probably going to be as good as advertised. And we haven't even seen RJ Godfrey or JJ Maniquit yet on this team. So. Yeah, I think I would go with basketball. I mean, I wouldn't want to put money on either for the reason Blair said, but I think it's a very difficult tournament to navigate, obviously. But I think that the randomness actually affords Arizona a better chance of getting to that point. I just think the football, if we're talking this year's talent with last year's schedule, maybe, but I don't see it. I mean, with Texas Tech and with BYU and with some teams that I think are going to be better than expected that are on Arizona's schedule as well. So I would lean basketball if I have to pick between the two.
So Blair, last week on the show, Shane has BYU over Texas Tech in the Big 12 championship game. I have Texas Tech over Utah. Who would be your Big 12 championship game? What would your prediction be?
Yeah, I think my two teams in the championship game would be BYU and Texas Tech. Um, I think Texas Tech, as everybody's documented, they have a ton of talent on that team. A little bit different, probably in terms of professional talent than what the rest of the Big 12 has. But I think BYU's got. I mean, they're always older. They've always got the depth. They've got an experienced quarterback this year. They're going to be really tough if they can run the football week in and week out. It's going to be tough to stop them because I think defensively they're going to be pretty stout. So I still just don't know if they've got enough talent to overcome a good Texas Tech team. And if Texas Tech gets decent quarterback play, like they had decent quarterback play most of last year. So if they get that this year, I think they can get through the Big 12 again. So I'll take Texas Tech over BYU.
All right. Now let's go on to the national landscape. Shane, your Heisman Trophy winner prediction is?
Maybe a little bit of a boring one, but I'm going to go with Arch Manning. I know he didn't live quite up to the hype in his first year as a starter, but I think he's going to be outstanding in his second year as a starter. Texas is going to be good enough to where their play collectively will elevate him, and I do think like if it's neck and neck with him and say another quarterback like a Dante Moore or Julian Saying, I think his name recognition could push him over the top, as unfair as that is. So maybe kind of a boring pick, but I'm going to go with Arch Manning.
Blair, you're going with Julian Sayin, even though Ohio State has a really tricky regular season schedule.
Yeah, this was a tough one for me. I didn't know who to pick, and I was just kind of going around. You look at Arch Manning and a number of the quarterbacks around the country. I went with Julian Sayin from Ohio State simply because of what you just said, Eric. He's going to have the most big game opportunities, and even if Ohio State as a team slips up once or twice, if they can get through the regular season and win the Big Ten outright, win the Big Ten championship. I think they'll be a top 3 or 4 team in the country, and just trying to figure out who might be left standing in the Heisman race in early December after all of that. I just think, saying if he takes the jump some people project him to have on the field this year, and that Ohio State offense is as good as it probably could be, I think he could put up some big numbers and have a couple of those Heisman moments in the Big Ten.
I think Oregon is, to me, the team to beat in the Big Ten. I think they are absolutely loaded. And I was never a huge Dante Moore fan. I was very unimpressed with him when he was at UCLA, but I think this team is going to be gangbusters, and I have Dante Moore winning the Heisman Trophy. But with that said, I think it will be difficult. I think CJ Carr is a deserving favorite because Notre Dame has the easiest path to go 12-0. I just don't know that he's going to put up the numbers that are as exciting as somebody like a Sayin or a Moore or an Arch Manning, especially with Arch Manning, with the running component that he offers there. Okay, semifinals for the college football playoff. we kind of differ here. Now, in previous years, I think last year we were big on Clemson. We were way off on that. Shane, give me your two semifinal predictions, this year in college football.
I've got my final four for college football in no particular order is Ohio State, Texas, Indiana, and Georgia. And look, Indiana, simply because Kurt Cignetti is just an amazing head coach, what he's done there. I mean, not just last year, but the year before that as well. Indiana was very good. Let's not forget that. They didn't come out of nowhere, at least compared to the year before that. I'm not going to bet against them to get back there, and I think they have an average recruiting class in terms of the Big Ten, but their transfer portal additions were fantastic. So I've got Indiana over Georgia in one of the semifinals. I've got Ohio State, which is going to be very tested with that schedule you mentioned. I think they're going to be ready. I think they're going to play and what's going to be an outstanding game against the Heisman winner Arch Manning in Texas. So I've got Ohio State over Texas. I've got Indiana over Georgia, and I've got an all Big Ten national championship game.
That is something that I wouldn't necessarily have predicted. Blair, you also have Texas. You also have Ohio State, but in a different order. So do tell.
Yeah, well, I'll just say because Shane's predicting the all Big Ten national championship game, and that's what I wanted to shy away from in terms of picking my winner this year. I think we're going to break that streak of what is it, 3 in a row now? I think for the Big Ten having the national champion with Michigan, Ohio State, and Indiana. So maybe Oregon sneaks in, makes it 4 for 4. That would be quite something for the Big Ten. But no, I went ahead and avoided the Big Ten winning the national championship. So my semifinals, I took Texas out of the SEC over Miami, and then Notre Dame over Ohio State. I think Notre Dame and Ohio State are going to have very complete teams, completely different seasons, as we just talked about. Notre Dame, a little bit easier path throughout the regular season. Ohio State's going to have a bunch of hurdles. I mean, if they trip up or have a significant injury or two, I mean, they might even have a tough time making the playoff with how difficult their schedule is in a few spots. But if they get through that, if they're battle tested just like they were in 2024, they're going to be potent and maybe have a chance to win the national championship again. So those two semifinals, I have Texas winning the first and coming out to play Notre Dame, and I'll go ahead and take the SEC getting back in the national championship picture. I think just a little more overall talent, maybe a little more overall speed with Texas in that national championship game over Notre Dame.
All right. So you have Texas over Notre Dame. Shane, you have Ohio State meeting Indiana in the national championship game. Who wins?
I've got Ohio State in a great game. I think the Buckeyes are probably. I mean, they're again boring pick. They're number one preseason, but I think they're the best team in the country. And I think that even if they do have a slip up in the regular season, that might even help them going forward to where that does not repeat in the CFP. And they're going to be ready for Indiana. No one's going to take them lightly. I'm not saying Ohio State took them lightly last year in the Big Ten championship game by any means, but they know Indiana's the real deal now. I think it's going to be a fantastic game that, like a 20-17 kind of, slog fest, battle of the trenches, Big Ten kind of game that Ohio State happens to come out on top on.
Very interesting prediction. That's
a nice way for you to say it. Yeah.
It's a very interesting prediction.
That's fine.
Now, I do not have Ohio State and I do not have Texas in the Final Four. I think Notre Dame has a cinch of a schedule, and I think Georgia has a tricky schedule, but Georgia has a lot coming back. I don't think Notre Dame will be as battle tested as they should be, and I think Georgia beats them in one of the semifinals. In the other semifinal, I think Miami makes it again. I don't think Mario Cristobal is a very good coach, but to go national championship game and then semifinal in back-to-back years, I think the ACC is a complete joke. I think it's a worse conference than the Big 12. Miami should absolutely cruise, and I think Oregon is legit. So I have Oregon beating Miami in the other semifinal, Georgia and Oregon in the national championship game. And for once the Big Ten does not win, I think the Georgia Bulldogs recapture their spot at the top of college football and win the national championship in what should be a fascinating matchup. So guys, we kind of differ here. Georgia, Oregon, Ohio State, Indiana, Texas, Notre Dame. I like that we are all on different pages. Will any of us be right? We'll find out, but it's very interesting predictions. Now, it's week 0. We have 3 games that I want to talk about here. I don't want to go too many. Shane, you and I will have a bunch to pick in week 1. We're doing something a little bit different this year for our picks, just so we know this. 1 point for a spread pick, 1 point for an upset special cover, and another point if they win outright. That's the same Last year we had 2 points for Arizona's spread and 1 point for a correct over/under pick for the Wildcats. Blair, we'll give you a chance to pick that game before you sign off here. But let's start with a Big 12 team in Dublin, North Carolina. Bill Belichick facing Sonny Dykes and TCU is giving 7.5 points in Dublin. Blair, which way are you leaning?
Well, the spread had me paused when I looked at it earlier when you sent it over, because I hadn't in my own life, I hadn't quite looked ahead to the week zero the spreads yet. I think 7.5 is an interesting number. I think TCU is going to be pretty good this year. They're going to be a tough matchup for a lot of teams in the Big 12.
Mm-hmm.
I also think North Carolina is going to be a little bit better this year, and they've certainly got a sour taste in their mouths from how poorly their season got off last year when they sort of got humiliated by this TCU team. So this is a tough game going across the pond. It's always seems to be a little bit of a sloppy game. So I think that even though I probably see TCU as a little bit better team here, I think the sloppiness of these games keeps it a little bit closer early. So I'm going to take TCU to win this game, but I think it's a little bit closer, maybe a 3-point or a 6-point win for TCU. So I'll take North Carolina with the points there, but TCU to win the game.
Shane, what do you say?
Blair, what Blair said, really, it's week one. It's overseas. It's likely to be an ugly, disjointed kind of game. You know, the time difference, I think, throws everyone off too. TCU is a better team. I'm not as high in TCU as it sounds like Blair is, but TCU is a better team. They'll probably win. North Carolina's not going to be good again this year, but I think this is going to be like a 16-13 kind of game. TCU win. I think TCU wins, but they don't cover. Not necessarily because I think North Carolina is a better team this year, but just because of the when and where aspects of the game.
I am actually going to lay the 7.5 points with TCU. I think North Carolina is going to stink. I think they have too much drama around that program, and I see TCU winning a game something like 24-14. Low scoring game. I agree with you. I think TCU is going to be much improved, as we discussed in last week's show, but I think they cover the spread here with a late score to back that up. Okay, this is a fun game. It was supposed to be played in Brazil. I don't know why that was ever scheduled, because I think it was ridiculous and made absolutely no sense. But now it's in Charlottesville, Virginia. We have NC State at Virginia, who's a 5.5 point favorite. Blair, you disagree with Shane and me. Who you got?
Well, I'm intrigued by this matchup because it's two probably fairly equal teams in terms of what they're hoping to achieve this year. I think Virginia had a great breakthrough year last year. They want to take that, back to where they were as a team in the mix for the ACC title game. I think NC State's a team that might be a little bit underrated. And when you look at NC State's schedule this year in the ACC, it is very manageable. And Eric, I know you just shared your thoughts on what you think about the ACC conference as a whole. So this is one of those that if North Carolina State finds a way to win this, they could stay. So that's one thing I'm fascinated to see. Now, I took a quick look at some notes on this game earlier too. Virginia is the most experienced roster in college football this year. They have over 48,000 games played in college football on their roster. So a lot of experience coming back from a pretty good team. I think Virginia is going to win this game at home, but I think NC State keeps it close. And I'm just going to say, keep an eye on NC State. If they are able to sneak out this win, they might be a team that's trying to get into that ACC championship game later in the year.
Shane, you disagree, and you are taking Virginia to cover the 5.5 at home.
Yeah, and Blair made some great points. I didn't know how experienced Virginia was. I knew that they were. I didn't know they were that experienced, but they look to be really good up front on both sides of the ball in particular. So it's pretty simple. When the battle in the trenches, they're at home. They're a team that should maybe have been in the ACC championship game. I think they win this game by at least a touchdown. If it was at NC State, I might agree with about where Blair has it, but I think at Virginia, I like Virginia to cover.
My favorite play in this game is the under 53.5. I think that Virginia's defense gave up less than 20 points per game last year. They debut a new quarterback in Bo Pribula, who's from Missouri, and before that, Penn State. I just think that Virginia defense gave up less than 20 points per game last year. Very experienced, as Blair mentioned. I think they find a way to win. Low scoring game. I do not like this spread at all. I would play Virginia money line. Give me Virginia 23, NC State 17. So I'm going to roll with the under as my top play, but I'm going to give them barely a cover for Virginia. Finally, this is the third game we're going to pick. Hawaii is at Stanford, who's -5.5. Now, we have a Hawaii guy that visits us on the YouTube page, Shane, and this guy has still been out of shape. That we said that Arizona kicked their butts last year, which was a fact, and they did. And he still is posting a year later that Arizona stinks. So we're still in his head. So with that said, Shane, Hawaii or Stanford?
Well, first of all, let's hope this is the only time this year we're gonna have to pick either of those teams in our rundown.
Probably.
But look, Hawaii won 9 games last year, and they could win the Mountain West this year. Stanford hasn't won more than 4 games in 7 straight years, I believe. One of those was a COVID year, but still. And they were last in the ACC in 24/7's transfer portal ranking, so they haven't, at least on paper, really done much to turn things around. I think Hawaii wins this game outright. I don't think they're necessarily a top 25 team, but I think they should pick up where they left off last year.
I agree with you, Shane. I think Hawaii wins this game outright. I think Stanford under new coach Tavita Pritchard, former quarterback there, he'll do a nice job with Andrew Luck. He and Andrew Luck kind of working together as Luck as the GM. But I think this team is going to be in a world of hurt. I think Hawaii is actually pretty good with Micah Alahado, who we saw in person in Arizona Stadium, now Casino del Sol Stadium last year. I think Stanford goes on the road and beats them in week 0. But Blair, you disagree, and you are laying the points with the home team.
Yeah, I'm just kind of tapping into my inner Lee Corso on this one because I was a little bit surprised by this spread. I actually agree with you guys. I think Hawaii is a little bit underrated. I think they're going to be pretty good. They're going to be pretty dangerous. I thought 5.5 points for Stanford. I was a little bit surprised, but I think somebody must know something out there. And as Lee Corso used to say, I'm going to go with the somebodies. So I'll take Stanford to go ahead and cover.
All right, Blair, since we're not going to pick it, Shane and I aren't going to pick it just yet, but can we get a score prediction and some rationale for Arizona against NAU in week 1 at Casino del Sol Stadium?
Yeah, well, let me just kind of, as I talked about a little bit earlier, I don't want Arizona fans to take any game for granted. And what I mean by that is not just is Arizona going to beat NAU, I think we're going to beat NAU, but the experience. Let's go out there and support Noah Fafita, support these Wildcats. There are some great young men and human beings that have chosen for multiple years to stay here in Tucson at a time when it's very easy to go chase money, chase opportunity, get your name in the headlines for a few weeks when you transfer or whatever it is. So I'm really excited about this team. I hope one thing that was bothering me about this team a little bit in the spring and early summer, I know Coach Gonzalez on the defensive side of the ball, he's so mad and just can't get over that BYU game from last year. And so there's, recovering that fumble in the last couple minutes and we win that thing in regulation. But what I've sensed from this team in the last few months of camp is they're back to the process and they're back to day by day and they're back to a build. And so for me as a fan, one of the most enjoyable things we had in that 2023 season, one of the most enjoyable things that we had last season, the second half of last season, was watching the team get better week by week by week. It wasn't lightning in a bottle. We weren't always perfect. We didn't always, score 45 points a game. Sometimes the defense gave up, 2 quick touchdowns in the first quarter like it did at Cincinnati, and then it would pull a shutout in the second half. The team just got better and better and better, and I enjoy that ride. And for this season, for Team 123 here in 2026, that ride starts with NAU. So I hope we can get a big crowd at Arizona Stadium or Casino del Sol Stadium that night because this team deserves it. As far as a score prediction, I don't know much about NAU this year. I'll admit that. I think Arizona is going to come out, play fast, play with confidence, and win this one pretty easy. I'll take it 45-10 as the final score.
Wow. So that's funny. I was on Spears and Ali this morning, and I said my initial reaction would be 41-10 Arizona. So you and I are very, very close. Shane, you and I will pick the game next week. Blair, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Great to chat with you. Coming up next, Mike Kintner from Harrah's Auction Casino joins us here on Wildcat Country.
Discover more Play for All at Harrah's Auction Casino.
Hi, folks. Here are your drinks.
Where having fun means racking up reward credits with the Caesars Rewards loyalty program that can be redeemed for food, free play, hotel stays, and more. Not only here in the city of Maricopa, but also at more than 50 Caesars properties coast to coast. From Harrah's Las Vegas to Caesars Palace in Atlantic City. What are you waiting for? Play for all at Harrah's Auction Casino, the official sponsor of Play.
All right, Shane, to close tonight's show, let's bring it on our buddy, the general manager of Harrah's Auction Casino, Mike Kintner, to preview Arizona's 2026 football season. But first, Shane, you had a chance to stay at Harrah's Auction Casino in early July. Do you want to give Mike any reviews since you have a forum here?
Seems like a lot longer than that because there's been a lot's happened since then. But yeah, it was right before the 4th. But yeah, it was. And like before we started recording, I told you, Mike, look, I appreciate y'all sponsoring the show. Appreciate you guys so much, but I'm not going to say anything that's not true, and I'm going to keep singing Harrah's Auction's praises. My wife and I had a fantastic time. We hung out by the pool, had some lovely beverages there. We're not big gamblers, but we each allotted ourselves a little bit of money to spend on the slots. I may have lost a little bit of the Texas Hold'em table. My wife's favorite machine was the Mrs. Wong's. She was a little more Mrs. Wong was a little more generous than her husband, I think, who's on a different machine. But we had a great time. Beautiful room. I mean, it was hot out, so going by the pool for a while and getting. I'm not big on fruity alcoholic beverages, but the Island Breeze, I think it was, I had out there was fantastic. So thanks so much for being our sponsor, and it was a pleasure to be able to talk up Harrah's Auction. It's a very easy task.
I appreciate that, and thanks for all those kind words, Shane, for sure. And we're always looking for feedback, like I was saying a little bit earlier as well. We're looking for our customers to give us that feedback. We get it, and because we want to do right by the customer, and make sure we're providing that great experience. Caesar's Sports Bar, we're coming up to our first football season, college. And,
that's what I forgot to mention. The Sports Bar was fantastic as well. We had a very energetic waiter who, I had an adult beverage already, so I appreciated it more than I probably would have otherwise. But he was fantastic. Pizza was great. So another home run there.
Yeah, we're super excited, and during the World Cup, we got to show it off a little bit, but it's gonna be a great place to watch college football coming up here in the fall. We're super excited to get into it.
Yeah, are there any specials, Mike, or anything that you can sell us on with the Caesar Sports Bar? I mean, Shane and I was there at the grand opening. Shane and I were there on Selection Sunday when Arizona got the #1 seed in the West. We made our picks. I was more optimistic than Shane.
Of course.
I got to pat myself on the back. I got Arizona in the Final Four. We got that right. So is there anything that you guys have specially for the fall that you can point out for us?
Well, I mean, it's pretty big space. It's like our biggest restaurant on property, 146 seats in there. So plenty of room to come on out for those game days. And there's really good value there. So, we wanted to be reasonably priced and create a good value with larger portion sizes. So it's a great place to come get a meal, watch a game, get a beverage, adult beverage or otherwise, hang out, watch on the plethora of screens, two big, huge screens on either end. And we have a betting kiosk right there inside the restaurant. And, of course, our sportsbook window as well. So you can take part in the action if you choose to do that, plus all the other options available like Eric was talking about. So it's a great little staycation halfway between. It's a little closer to Phoenix than it is to Tucson, but down here in Pinal County, and a great spot to come hang out, especially got a heated swim-up bar for the wintertime, or heated your pool swim-up bar, cabanas. Lots of great stuff to do for the entire family. So we have the Auction Entertainment Center right next to us with movies and bowling and laser tag and all sorts of fun stuff over there as well. So it really is a nice little destination to come. If you haven't been here before, come check it out. Big Wildcat fans over here.
So speaking of betting, and you're speaking my language, Mike, the over-under is 7.5 wins, according to, I believe, Caesar Sportsbook. Give us your over or under for Arizona football in 2026.
Eric, you told me we were going to talk about this, so I had to go look, and then I looked at the last 10 years, try to keep it somewhat recent. Have to throw out the COVID year, and we've been more under than over for sure. I want to say 6 of those 9 years it was definitely under, and when we seemed to have a really big, a good win season like 23 or 10-3, bounced back in 24 with that 4-8 season. Obviously went under there, but 3 of the past 4 years we've gone over. So. Although 2022 was the line was set at 2.5, so I don't think that was super challenging to do. I believe that was like right after Jed Fish failed right there, so we thought we were going to lose our roster. Was it 7.5? I'm going to be a little pessimistic here and go under. I think 7-win season is still going to be pretty good. But obviously, for everybody out there and everybody watching, it's going to be super disappointing. So I like to be optimistic. Of course, I want them to win the Big 12, win every single football game. I'm a season ticket holder. I got 8 season tickets. I'll be down there. I think we have 6 home games this year.
Seven.
Sorry, 7 ASU. You're right. 7 home games. I think I'm going to be able to make 6 of the 7. So super excited to be down there, and I want to see wins in every single one of them. So you just catch a couple road wins after that. You know what? I'm talking myself out. I've changed my mind. I'm going over.
Yeah, well,
you know 8 wins.
As long as Eric and I don't go to a game together, there's a decent chance they'll win every home game. I'm putting you on the spot here, Mike, and I should ask you this ahead of time. But is there a line on Noah Fifita for Heisman? Because Arizona's making a big push on that, or do we know?
I don't know. I could look it up, but I'm not sure. I've seen the billboards on social media.
Oh yeah,
that's something I'd have to pull up for you real quick.
No, it's fine. Go ahead.
It's around 100 to 1 for Noah to win the Heisman. On Caesar Sportsbook. So, Mike, would you recommend throwing a couple bucks?
Buy or sell?
Noah win the Heisman? Yeah, is that your buy or sell here? Are you buying Noah for Heisman for a few bucks, or are you selling that?
I think Noah Fifita is going to be, a legend in Wildcat lore. I hope he has the best season. I hope he wins the Heisman Trophy. I would be selling. I don't think that realistically he's going to.
He's only got to beat out Dante Moore and Arch Manning and Julian Sayin and all those guys, right?
I mean, hey, listen, Shane, you never know what can happen. If Arizona goes 10-2, Noah Fifita is going to have a chance. If they beat BYU, and we talked about this earlier in the show with Blair, like if they beat BYU in week 2, yeah, you have a chance. And if not, then okay, you're selling that. Mike, what are you most looking forward to now that football season's back? What for you gets you so excited about football season?
Well, I've got, like I said, I'm a season ticket holder. I've had them for a long time. And my youngest is a sophomore at the University of Arizona. He's we just moved him in last week. He's living in the Kappa Sigma house down there. So shout out to the K-Sig guys. And, having the time of his life. And I'm looking forward to and to see the students and the student participation down there, really enjoying it. They're flipping the sidelines, I believe, this year. So my seats will actually will be on the home team sideline. So that'll be pretty exciting and a little bit different to watch. But for me, it's always been, family time and family and friend time, getting back down there, reconnecting with the university. Like I said, I believe my schedule's lining up where I think I can make it down for 6 games this year. Bonus, get to see the kid while he's down there at school as well. But it's going to be great. We take lots of friends with us, lots of family. Sometimes the first time going to a U of A game, if we can't use them, we're giving them away. My brother actually lives down in Tucson, so his family gets to go quite a bit as well. So it's really about family time, reconnecting, and going and cheering on the alma mater.
And that's what it's all about. Yeah. Being around different people at the games. I mean, that's as I've talked about on this show, that's what's most important for me. And you and I have, hung out at games at halftime before. And then of course we ran into you before the basketball game against Texas Tech, which did not go so well. We ran into you on campus. So, okay. Last question for you, Mike. If you were to make a bold prediction right now, which of these outcomes is most likely? Arizona makes the Big 12 championship game, just makes the Big 12 championship game in football, or Arizona basketball makes the national championship game? Which would you say is more likely?
Watched all 3 of our basketball games. I was a little not reactionary, but a little nervous after the first one. But man, did I love what I saw in those next 2. So I think I'd go with basketball. Make it the national championship game. I think this team could be, it's going to be a long season. Not a lot of stuff has to come together. But for them to go out and play the way they did, I thought was pretty fantastic, even just in friendlies like that. To see the progression from that first game to the second game, and then in the third game, with I think was a mix of the A and B team for Lithuania, but still, it was like, it was pretty. You saw some really good stuff in those. That was pretty cool. So, and then I don't think they can be in it, but I kind of be. You can't be in a bowl game in your own stadium, can you? I watched the Ali Farhang show, and then just a quick aside on that. So I actually worked for Ali's father and with his brother at the Maverick when I went to school at the University of Arizona. So they are like local Tucson institutions. And so his brother Amir and I were bartenders together for a couple of years down there while I was in school. And I got to meet Ali back then. I think I've seen him maybe once or twice, maybe since. So mostly interactions on social media, but follow his show a little bit. But that was a great segment with him. So that was pretty cool.
We'll have to get you guys on the same show here later in the fall. So, Mike, as always, not only do we appreciate your sponsorship of Wildcat Country, but thanks for coming on, giving us some analysis. So, anything you want to share just coming up with the fall with Harrah's Auction Casino?
As the weather cools off a little bit and that kind of stuff, everything starts to ramp up. And I know it's a busy time of year, but again, Caesar Sports Bar, great place to come watch football, college football, all the sporting events. We're showing the UFC fights. Come on out and have a good time. Check it out. Let us know what you think, man.
And you can make some bets and you can play some slots or some table games like Shane did when he was there. So, Mike, thanks for joining us. For Mike Kintner, for Blair Willis, for Shane Dale, I'm Eric Cohen. Thanks for listening. And as always, bear down.